what is going on? My name is NoJ456, and what you're about to watch is an exclusive Jason Blundell interview that he did on my channel, and in this interview, he is going to drop some bombshells. So basically, this thing is broken up into 3 sections. The first section is basically us talking about kind of like his favorite questions when people interview him, his least favorite questions when people interview him, talking about his favorite moments from Black Ops 3, the coolest moments for him, the most surprising stuff, and that's basically the first section. The second one is talking more about the dev cycle type stuff, like if he had more time with Black Ops 3, what would he have changed? Talking about some glitches, some bugs, some like basically developmental kind of cycle stuff, like why you chose to do this instead of this, stuff like that. And then the third section is talking about storyline. That is where he drops some of the big bombshells in here that you guys are going to want to watch. But the entire thing is worth watching. He's a super, super cool dude. It's honestly just extremely enjoyable to sit down with him and talk. And I mean, he's like the guy behind zombies. He is the one you go to when you want some answers on zombies. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and roll the interview. I hope you guys all enjoy. If you did, go ahead. Let's try to break 2 likes. Hey guys, what is going on? My name is NoJ456, and today I am joined with Jason Blundell. We are talking a little bit about Zombie Chronicles, which is coming out next week. And for everyone, obviously. We've had the PS4 release, but we have Xbox and PC coming out soon. And he's here to answer some questions and have some fun. So how you doing, Jason?
Not too bad. How are you doing, Noah?
It's been good. It's been busy in my life, but getting settled back in. 3 million subs, graduating college, getting engaged.
Wow.
I'm just trying to get all the exciting stuff out of the way so we can get back to streaming every day and all that good stuff.
That is an intense schedule right there.
So it's been fun, but so my first question, because I know you just got off an interview with the Zombras and everything like that, and you do interviews all the time. So I've always kind of wanted to ask you this in an interview just to gauge your response, and then we'll get into kind of some. My plan here is to talk a little bit about this, talk about kind of the overview of the last year and a half in zombies. And then jump into, the classic hard-hitting questions, everything like that.
Series of questions that I'm not going to answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the guaranteed section in any Blundell interview. But I wanted to ask, it kind of loops into this, what are your favorite and least favorite parts or like questions that you get asked in these interviews, just in general, if any?
Oh, I love it all. Even the ones that I dodge or I can't answer, I enjoy. Because it gives me an insight into what's at the forefront of people's minds, especially, when I'm talking to kind of YouTubers, it's the Uber fans, right? It's the guys who know it inside out and are at the forefront of the narrative conversation or the gameplay conversation. So even the ones that I can't answer, I love, because it tells me something about it. So I don't really have any. I mean, like when we had everyone down for Chronicles, we had a lot of the YouTubers in at Treyarch. Even when they were asking me the tough questions, they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna grill you, Jay." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool, that's fine." I enjoy it because it's always engaging and it's always coming from an educated point of view that really makes me very happy. It makes the team very happy when we hear people who are passionate and know what's kind of going on. So even when they ask you a question and I can't answer it, it's lots of fun.
Right. Yeah, I think that's that one thing that we kind of talked about. It wasn't an interview, but it kind of stood out to me was when I think it was, and I'm going to tie into this a little bit later, but when I came down and we did the Zetsuba no Shima reveal.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's where you came up with the whimsical idea.
Yeah. So we were talking about, and I was like, Jason, you got to have some fun gobblegum. That not everything has to help you, right? Some of it may even like make it harder, just kind of like for fun. And He told me the next DLC I could look out for something like that.
That was all you, baby.
Yeah, I mean it's been awesome because I mean like it started with that one in the DLC and now we're up to 4, I believe, 4 or 5, something like that. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, looping back in that interview beforehand, I was like, so is there anything like I shouldn't ask you or like you can't talk about? And basically what you said back to me was like, you can ask me anything you want. I'm not going to guarantee I answer anything, but I thought that was one of the coolest parts because like you're open to taking these questions, even if like you can't respond directly. You can still like have a conversation about it, and there's nothing like off limits, which I thought was really cool.
No, there was one of the interviews who came to me, and he was asking very specific guided questions. Talking about certain crashes on high rounds and certain other kind of aspects. And he was one of the first guys to kind of ask me at that depth, and it was great because that allowed me to kind of answer and talk about some of the challenges of development. I know that's not always attractive to the audience, or certain parts of the audience aren't interested in that stuff, but certain parts are. And so it allowed me to kind of go there and say, hey, these are the kind of things that on the development side, even though they're not particularly sexy, these are some of the reasons why these things happen, or how we kind of fix things, or how we sort stuff out.
Right, yeah. And I think that, yeah, exactly what you said. It's kind of cool how, depending on who you are and what your kind of focus is in the community, you can ask those kinds of questions, and higher rounds can ask about that.
It was like the Zombros guys, the guys I was just talking to. They really wanted to kind of see behind the dev curtain. And I was like, you sure about this? Okay, let's talk about some of the drier stuff.
Let's reel it back.
Yeah, it's about, project management and staffing and so forth. And, here's the thing. That's the thing that gets me all excited and got me into the industry in the first place. So, if someone wants to engage me about how project management and development works, I can talk there about that stuff. Yeah.
We may have a whole interview about that. So kind of looping in with that and being a developer. One of my questions that I was really excited for today was basically I wanted to ask you, and maybe not even just you, or like things you've heard around the office, what the other devs have been talking about. What are some of your favorite moments from the past year and a half working on Black Ops 3 and releasing it for the community? Whether it be like events or like things that the community did or things that you guys did in the studio?
Sure. So I think on Black Ops 3, one of the big moments of excitement was going to Comic-Con. Because that was the first time we'd done that. And I remember we got there and I got on stage and we stood there way before the setup, and there's 3,000 seats sitting in this empty room. And I was stood on stage and I was like, oh God, what happens if no one comes? It was like something from like Wayne's World 2 or something. It's like, book them, they will come. But I was just stood there. I was like, this could be a very empty room. And then it started filling up, and it kept on filling up to the point where they had to lock the doors because it was turning into a fire hazard, the number of people who were coming into the space. And that, sitting on stage with all the kind of the VO actors and Craig and being able to kind of show Shadows of Evil for the first time, which we were like, how are people going to respond to this? This is a very different twist, a very different angle on what we've done with zombies in the past. That was excitement and fear at the same time, which is so often kind of connected. But, the moment when we played the video for the Giant and shot Richtofen in the face, and 3,000 people essentially gasped at the same time. To be at the front of a stage and feel that wave was very important. Each one of them has their own moments, right? It was a pleasure doing the kind of, the Zetsubo stream with you, seeing the, and then doing the Apothicon language. That was kind of fun. And then the Rise Interact, seeing the response from the community and really people kind of enjoying it and seeing that kind of passion come through. The PPSH going in and the Dragons going.
I don't know if you've seen the reaction compilation of the trailer when the PPSH pops out. It's just like 40 troops like, no! They're just every single one freak. I mean, the fact that so many people can react that strongly about a gun is like, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment. And then Revelations, seeing people's reaction, so extreme reactions, either puzzlement or dislike was also really interesting as well, because that reminded me of how we did it for Origins. And so it was great to see that all our tricks weren't used up and our way of telling narrative was still alive. Although it wasn't a double beat, it had the same kind of atmosphere and attitude. I loved seeing that as well.
Yeah, so we can touch on that because that's actually one of my later questions. Because we kind of talked about this at the event a little bit, but when people forget easily, like it like in terms of when there's 3 years between games and everything like that, there's long times people forget how things were, and we were talking about how much people absolutely despise the Origins ending when it first came out, and we were talking about it's the cycle of like that hate of it. Like this makes no sense. It's all a game. Like everything's for nothing. Moving to like kind of the acceptance of it. Like okay, it is what it is. And then moving to where it is now, when everyone like is Origin like I'll be finishing finishing the Origins Easter egg up. Get to watch the cutscene and be like, oh yeah, we got to turn everything. We've seen this 100 times. We got to turn everything off and watch it again because it's so good. And I was going to ask, do you see Revelations taking a similar arc to that when you guys start introducing more stuff, or do you see it taking a different route?
It's hard to talk about that without giving some of the game away, I suppose. I think, going into the future, there's going to be new stuff. There's going to be stuff which is going to challenge the kind of zombie community in one way. But I believe and I hope that we've built up trust and we've built up a level of the fact that we're here to kind of service fans and help fans. But with that comes challenges. We have to challenge the community at times. So do I think that's going to that's going to take moments for people to kind of readjust. In the same way that when we showed Shadows for the first time, we thought, oh, how are people going to respond to this? How are they going to deal with it? There's this expectation that you kind of carry on doing the same thing, right? Sometimes you need to move away from that. Sometimes you need to break with expectation. And so I'm not sure. I don't know. But I do know it's very exciting and it's different. And yes, I hope that people will, going into whatever happens next, will look back and say, okay, good decisions were made here.
Right.
That's as cryptic as I can. Right.
No, that was good. That was a very good answer. And just to touch back on that, I think some of my favorite kind of community type things from the year were the DE ending, because when we went in to the studio for Zombie Chronicles, we were talking with some of the other devs, and the timing of that one worked out because we were solving the Easter egg like right around noon, lunchtime, and everything like that. And they were telling me that you guys were basically like, we got to the boss fight. Everyone was kind of like, there was a few people watching, and then we got zapped by the lightning. We kind of talked about that in the Zetsubo stream. So we're like, okay, God, we know what to do now. Get back in. We get all the way through. And he was telling me basically like people were walking by and then coming in, and just everyone was crowding around and watching. And I got some tweets and everything like that afterward that told me you guys were doing that. And I thought that was such a cool, like, even though like there's Treyarch and then there's the fans and everything like that, and we're separated and you're kind of like the lifeline between them. It was cool knowing like in that moment that there was like that connection, and we were like finishing something and then you guys were all a part of it at the same time, along with like however many thousands of people were watching on the internet.
Our guys are always kind of glued to it. It's one of those things where it's obviously people who we have on staff who deliberately do that stuff. But when you're hitting such a major point, it's infectious and kind of spreads across the studio. Everyone starts watching and connecting with it. Like, oh, they're almost there. They're almost there. And that's fantastic, because that's what they want to see. They want to see people enjoying it. They want to see people playing it. That's why they do this work. That's why, Treyarch is packed full of very, very talented developers, and they love nothing more than to see people enjoying their work that spent long hours making it.
Yeah, that's super, super cool. And then, so this is kind of like the last question in this kind of preliminary, and then we'll move on to some more storyline and stuff like that.
You're doing an awesome job.
Oh yeah, we got this entire thing structured. We're ready. I'm getting answers all the way down. And this one was actually from Twitter, a question from Starburst. He was asking, what's one thing that you guys would have expanded on or kind of changed if there was more time this dev season?
Ooh, what a good question. Expanded on or added? Is that what you said?
Or changed or added on? Just so what kind of changes or additions would you have made?
The thing that I would always say, and this is true of any software, is I wish we just had more time on QA. You always wish, because you're pushing narrative and you're pushing mechanics all the way to the bare limit, and then the hardworking men and women here in the QA department at Treyarch have to work incredibly fast and try and check everything. And it's such a big game. It might look simple when people are playing it. From a testing point of view, you got to test every gobblegum across every situation. You got to test all the high rounds. You got to test all the kind of combinations. And if I could change anything, I would just like a little bit more to firm up certain things. And that's always the balance, which is, okay, you could get more polished and do less things, or we could go a little bit rougher and get more things in. And that's always a difficult balance to strike. So if I could magic some more time up, then it's not about numbers of people, it's just time, unfortunately, which is, the thing about Activision, Treyarch, Call of Duty is we always hit our dates. We always hit. And so that's a balancing act you're trying to do.
Right.
That's the thing I would add.
Yeah, and that's
a boring answer, but it's the
no. I was gonna say that gives me an opportunity to quickly apologize to all the men and women who work very hard when there's some tense moments and boss fights that I had over the years that may have said some choice words.
Is that when you do the trigger thing and we kind of shake the
camera? Yeah. Well, we can throw it up now if I'll have that up for a second. Okay, so now we're moving on kind of like to Zombie Chronicles, and I have a few questions about that. And the first of which is someone that I had kind of like from the beginning, right when I started playing, was how does Zombie Chronicles and the old maps play into the timeline? Do the new maps kind of like overwrite the old maps in terms of like what the canon is, or are they separate universes, separate times? Because obviously the first run through, and it's also kind of like a technical standpoint of you didn't have the gobblegums in the first one. Now we have gobblegums. There are new quotes that are associated with that. The characters in Origins know who Dr. Monty is. I've heard quotes from.
There was a little patch that came out, so that was actually a bug, that bit.
Okay.
So the patch came out and took out some of the lines. So one of the things that happened, and you should have seen it on the patch that just came out, was there was a bunch of lines that crept into the VO packs that weren't supposed to be there. So if you've got the latest patch, they should have been removed.
Okay. So minus the Dr. Monty part, then with the gobblegum machines and things like that, how did you want the community to interpret that and the two maps being the original and the remake?
Well, so I'll answer one part and I won't answer another part. So the one part I would answer is we tried in all aspects to be authentic to the original experience. Mm-hmm. And then there were certain systems that we added because obviously that's changed since World War to let's say Black Ops 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So there were certain natural changes that had to be done, but we tried to be authentic to the original maps as much as we could, and then we put little flares in, little things. Mm-hmm. But hopefully it's as one-to-one as we can get it, but with the benefit of the extra hardware and then updating the mechanics. Yeah. In terms of the statement of do they replace or sit in companion, I won't make a comment on that.
Okay. Interesting. So to play off that, in Zombie Chronicles, which for you was one of the most fun to remake, or the most challenging? Which was the most interesting to kind of bring from the old game or bring the ideas from the old game? Because you guys completely remake everything. Every single texture is it's completely from scratch. It's a new map.
I really enjoyed Moon. I've got to be honest. Mm-hmm. That was really fun. I mean, that was a map when Jimmy was here, and that was one of his ones. It was really fun to kind of go back in there and to, with our art directors and very talented artists we had, reimagine all those environments now with a bit more life and a bit more spirit because of the new hardware, and you can kind of push stuff. When people look at the original map and they'll say, "Oh, it was a bit bland and it was a bit colorless in this way." There's a lot of technical restrictions that you're dealing with and playing with then. So it's not just an artistic choice, it's also a technical choice as well. Mm-hmm. Now with all the new stuff, we could go a lot further and so we put details and flourishes in, like the biodome and some of the kind of other aspects.
The biodome was just like a new world walking in there.
You just couldn't spend, that amount of alpha and alpha punch through and stuff that you're doing with foliage and so forth. You just couldn't have been playing with that on the old system. So you have to go in there and reimagine that and to really kind of bring that to life in the way that I believe it would have been originally attacked if the hardware had been strong enough back in the day. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a real honor for me to be able to go back and play with that because I love the map and I thought it was very inventive, very creative, and had a great spirit to it. So I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Okay, so now comes the fun part. So these are the questions that will be answered in a yes, no, maybe, or cryptic silence.
Wow, we got all the way to that section. That was quick. Wow.
Yeah. No, this is gonna be a good section. I'm looking forward to this very much.
So sit here now.
Sorry.
This is where I just sit here.
Yeah, right. No, feel free to expand. Retract any parts of these.
Watch how I redirect each one of your questions.
Oh yeah.
Off my own question.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm. Yeah. So before we move off of Zombie Chronicles and
Zombie Chronicles.
Yeah.
No, there we go.
There it is. So
shameless plug.
Yeah, right.
Out the 15th, kids. Out the 15th.
So speaking of Zombie Chronicles, and speaking of some of the maps that are included.
Yes.
So Shadow Man on Ascension.
Yeah.
knocking doors on Kinos.
Yeah.
Samantha figurines, dolls spinning around, and so my question is there something bigger than this, than some max ammos, or?
That's a really deep philosophical question you're posing me there. Noah.
And not one that you wish to comment on at this time. That was the biggest stretch. Don't worry, they don't get as detailed as that from here.
That's very good.
Aside from maybe this one. So so back in the Zetsubo reveal, I was playing the game at the same time. Still
amazing. People still don't believe that you were playing that and interviewing me. People
still get on me for dying during the boss fight. It's terrible.
I saw somebody giving you, because I saw the bit. Someone was giving you a hard time over it, and I was saying at the time, it's amazing he's able to interview me. They were like, "Oh, ask better questions." I'm like, he's playing and interviewing me at the same time. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It's true.
So
it's true. That was actually happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. And then beforehand, I was trying to get set up. I was trying to get the plunger for probably, I don't know if you remember this, probably 45 minutes. And I kept getting distracted listening to the other stuff going on because I was still like kind of setting up while the stream was going. And failed the plunger time like 4 times, but that's neither here nor there. But on that stream, I was playing and I was holding the haymaker, and ran over to a certain part of the map by Mule Kick and asked you about a raven that was sitting there, and I shot the raven, and I quote Jason Blundell said, "That's a bit mean, that," and that's all that was said about that raven that day.
Was that you doing like a dodgy English impression right there?
That's the exact. I wanted to get the exact quotation marks in there.
That's a bit dodgy, that.
Yeah, exactly. So with the raven and with.
Don't blind me, Mary Poppins.
cheeky mate. And with in addition to the raven, the Margwa heart, not the one that you pick up for the Apothicon servant, but the dead Margwa heart. Are there still avenues to explore with those, or have we flushed those out in their entirety?
I think you're good.
Okay. That gives me so much peace. I can sleep tonight, and thank you for releasing me.
Now you've got to question the fact that am I going to tell the truth on that or not?
Yeah, no, of course. Every single thing you have to play it forwards, backwards, reverse. Check the eye blinks. It's great.
I was just saying to the Zombros guys, it's now eyebrows.
Yeah. Yeah. You can spell letters with your eyebrow motions, right?
I can do my ears as well. Look, there we go. It's probably not picking up on HD cameras there.
Oh man, this is next level. So going back, one little we talked about this, and I kind of wanted to ask you on the interview as well, because I loved the answer to it. So in the original Origins, there was the Ascend from Darkness step where you could take the Fire Staff and place it in the pedestal and take it back. And I was wondering if you just wanted to tell what all the people who were working on it said the moment you guys went back in to redo that in terms of like fixing the glitches and everything like that.
I mean, and it's the same guys. The thing to kind of bear in mind is the same guys. The guys who worked on Origins back in the day worked on the remasters as well. So there was a lot of kind of conversations in the studio. I finally get to patch or fix the thing that I kind of slipped through the gaps last time. That's why there was kind of so much fun. I mean, the same thing started when we redid the Giant from Darius. That was the same guys who made that originally, who's remade it. So they all take great pride, and even to the point where we have schedules about the kind of things they've got to fix and kind of work on. There was guys putting things onto the schedule saying, X number of years ago, I didn't get to fix this. I don't care what you put on my schedule, I'm fixing it now.
And that's why I wanted to ask, because I think it's so, I thought that was such a cool answer in terms of like us as a community looking at it, because I mean, that was so long ago, and it's the same guys who are like, I can't, like, there's no way they're getting through the steps so easy this time. I just thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, they all watch your stuff as well. They all watch all the people's stuff, and so they say, they keep doing that thing, or they can see this exploit. And it's interesting because we actually have meetings where we talk about certain exploits and say, should we leave that in for them? We may not have intended it in the first place, but is that now become part of the soul or the character of that map?
Yeah.
Should we leave that thing alone, or should we let them do it? And it goes 50-50. Sometimes it's, no, we need to fix that, and sometimes it's, no, let them do that. That was one of the big things I found when I first started meeting, YouTube guys, talking to them. And, there was a conversation I had, which was, in this bit of Derice, we jump onto the ledge, and then you can put the controller down, we can go off, have some food, come back, because the zombies can't get us. And I'm like, I need to put a clip brush up there so they fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
You think, should you do that? Or should you leave that? Because that's part of the heritage of the map, you know, and that's a constant discussion on these things.
Yeah, and I think that's cool, kind of the contrast. In like the old map, there are like the old version of Origins. There are things in there that are, they're not supposed to be in there, but it is something that you only know if you're part of the community. You like watch the videos, or you are doing it all the time, and you learn these like little micro tricks and everything like that. Don't break the game, but it just kind of gives it that character. So I think that I wanted to ask you that question because I thought the answer was so cool, and it just really shows the care and dedication that goes in. So next question.
Yes.
In the image of the Chronorium that we get, the timeline that you shared, there's a key at the bottom that shows different symbols. And I've noticed that I watched your other interviews, and you always kind of point this out when you talk about people transcribing it and putting it in like a nice little easy to read format. But there are these symbols that connect different events in some universes to events in other universes.
Yep.
And
there's also a physical property of how those universes overlay on each other as well.
Yeah, exactly. So my question is, obviously, there's been a few weeks since Zombie Chronicles have come out now on PS4, coming out soon on Xbox and PC. But is there anything with that timeline that is what that you would say is significantly important that we haven't picked up on yet?
Yes.
That's all we need. There it is. Okay.
I think there's quite a few things, to be honest.
Quite a few.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, I still feel like, and again, the reports I've seen, and I don't see everything in detail, so I apologize for that. But of the things I have seen, there's still stuff in Revelations that people may have not clicked onto significance.
Really?
Yeah, there's still and it's really weird, right? Because from my point of view, and Craig Houston, our lead writer, we're like, that's obvious. Why haven't they connected those dots or seen that thing? And obviously, it's easy for us to say that. It's different being out there and seeing everything as this kind of a big kind of mesh of things. But there's still elements. There's still elements that
the straws are out there to be picked up.
Yeah, it's still there. It's amazing as the chase for Easter eggs increased and the intensity. And if you look at the zombie history, it became more and more about that. In one weird way, because there's more VO and there's more story being told, it's almost like the community skips over more. Because in the past, back in, let's say, Chronicles, take the original maps, there was very sparse amounts of narrative told, and as such, everything was really picked apart and thought about. As in Black Ops 3, as we told more and more story, they actually looked at it less and less. So one thing I've noticed is people skipping over things quite easily because there's so much, and I think it's that difference between the drips of water and the deluge, means that you don't really look at the detail in the deluge anymore. So there's lots of stuff I think that's out there that people may not have fully explored because there's so much to look at. Yeah, it's like maybe to see the trees because you've got so much forest there.
Yeah, like because if you look back, if you use like a time machine, the internet time machine, I forgot what they're called, and go back and look at YouTube and the zombies community on YouTube in that time. It was either how to get stuck in a corner, knocked around totem with the flamethrower and get to around 1 million, or it was talking about every single radio, like in such detail that no piece of dialogue was missed out on, no writing on the wall was looked over, and now so much more happens in the map that
And here's the thing: the consideration hasn't changed, just the volume has. But I think people misinterpret volume for less detail in a weird way, and that's not true. It's just more of it. If you see what I mean.
Oh yeah. And
that's a distraction technique as well. By giving more of something, people look at it less. It's like having the sparkly object in front of you. You'll focus on that. It's an interesting property of human nature.
Right, and I think we actually touched on that. I was watching over a little bit of the reveal stream, and you touched on that when you said people will come back to these maps and say that connects over here. We didn't pick up on that the first time, and the more you pay attention to that, and I think you even talked about the detail. It's the little things that show up, and I mean, so very cool.
I love the ones that are in plain sight. They're the ones I really, those are the ones that give me that kind of giggle.
And before everyone is running around with in plain sight on, looking for looking for hidden writing on the wall now.
Exactly. It's those ones that kind of make me chuckle a little bit when I see them, and I'll have videos sent to me saying, "Look, they just ran straight past it," or "Look, they just listened to it, didn't even think twice about it."
Yeah,
those are the ones that I would be lying if I didn't say I took a little kind of giggle about.
That's cool. Okay, this is a really quick one. But I've had someone on Twitter who has I announced a little bit earlier that I was doing this, and I think he's tweeted me 15 times asking if Dead Ops Arcade is canon to Richthofen's story.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Just wanted. There you go, Brady. There's your answer.
There you go. Yes.
Just had to clear that up.
Are you going to drop me an M1911 question at some point?
I mean, are you opening to answering said questions?
If you ask me an M1911 question, yeah.
What's happening with M1911?
I'm going to put it back in.
Oh, sweet. Dude.
Let me give you and the AK as well.
Oh.
But let me exclusives for Noah's 3 million.
Man, alrighty then. 3 million.
Unfortunately, shared with Zombros as well, so you've got to beat them to the release.
Okay, that's fine.
Simple story is, just wasn't ready in time. Just wasn't ready in time. Every time we add something in, we have to test everything, and you have a period of submission that you've got to kind of get in. You've got to QA before that point. Yes, we knew we were making it. Yes, we wanted to get the zombie community for it, but it just wasn't ready in time. And you'd have to then basically offset all your release schedules, and it wasn't that significant a thing that would delay everything to get it. So after Xbox comes out, then I think the next TU title update after that, it'll go in.
It'll drop in. Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people will be very excited about that. It's awesome. In the bottom right hand corner, I'm still talking about the timeline. In the bottom right hand corner of the excerpt from the Chronorium, it actually reads excerpt 1,816,123,016. Yep. So that's excerpt. So that's excerpt, that huge number. So is that a page that we actually is able to be found in the Chronorium that we physically see in the process of Black Ops 3?
That's a great question. So the Chronorium, and there was a little bit of copy that went out. I'm not sure where it went out, but I'll say it here in case people missed it, because I've not seen people reflecting on it. Which is that the Chronorium is also dependent upon the reader of it.
Really?
So basically, when you open it and look into it, it basically gives you that from the point of view of the person who is reading it.
Wow. So the Chronorium that we read in the timeline, who opened that?
Well, who signed it in the bottom left-hand corner?
Interesting.
There you go. That's an exclusive for you there. Noah.
That's very exciting. That opens up a whole new. Wow. That's huge.
That's because we're Zetsubo buddies.
Yeah. First DLC reveal stream, friends. I still got the poster ready to be hung up as soon as I get this room figured out. Oh my gosh! Wow. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. I'm gonna say wow 30 times unless we move on. So, okay. So I have one more kind of I guess studio related question, and then one kind of like personal question, and then we'll be wrapping it up there. So with the kind of like release cycle of Black Ops 3, we have a trailer, we have a second trailer, sometimes a third trailer in terms of zombies. Like usually one to three trailers. The map releases. The map has an intro cutscene, and an outro cutscene, at least for the cycle of Black Ops 3. And then afterwards, there's the kind of studio music video cut that comes out.
Yeah.
And my question is, with I'm a huge fan of Overwatch, and I really like what they do with kind of the animations and kind of like fleshing out that universe in a way that's completely separate from the story. And obviously with zombies, you don't want it to be completely separate from the story. It's like it's so entwined. So my question is, has the studio ever considered these like separate, not necessarily any of those things in the recycle, animations or kind of like storytelling processes? And you really some in the past, but as in like, I don't know, 10 minute video, and I found a line that I would love to see in one of these in case decide to do this. So in the Dimension 63 timeline, April 18th, 1940, Richtofen meets with Stanley Ferguson and convinces him to assist with the Illuminati's construction of the Alcatraz laboratory. Yeah. Can we have an animation?
So I love what they did with Overwatch and kind of fleshing out kind of backstory, and it's the boring part of the answer is it's a resource investment question about what you're going to get your guys to do and the kind of involvement. Those IGCs, be it the front or the back or wherever you put them, or the music videos or the campfire pieces that we did, take a certain amount of resource and planning and energy to kind of pull off.
Of course, they're huge. They're huge things.
The huge things. It's always been the idea of how do we tell the most narrative in the most sensible way, where we're not drawing away from the responsibilities we have, but also kind of servicing the community. So, I don't have a dedicated kind of pre-rendered kind of group of guys.
Of course.
So the guys who do all the animations in the game are the guys who do the animations for the career, the campaign, right? All that stuff's done together. And it's also the guys who do the so it's the same guys. And so
it's a ton. It's like you watch it, you think it's like, oh, like there it is, like, but no, it's huge. It's huge. It's
a large investment. I mean, like, we really kind of pushed it on Black Ops 3. I was really happy on the fact that we went further than we've ever gone before in terms of dedicated video assets. We did the campfire pieces, we did the music videos, every intro and outro. I was really happy on the volume. Would I like to do more? Sure, I would. Absolutely. It just has to make developmental sense, because it's very tempting, being on the narrative side of my brain, saying, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do a 20-minute, 30-minute piece," but I think I would be being negligent to what they should be doing.
Right. No, of course.
You got to strike that balance. So, would I love to? Absolutely. And that's something that I felt that we struck a nice balance by doing the comic book. We could do. We could explore more narrative and other ideas, but didn't have to allocate internal resources to it. And essentially, Craig and myself could speak to the writers and the artists and work another narrative out there. But as soon as you start involving pre-render sequences, that's teams of people and large amounts of time.
Yeah. So essentially, like we just like want to take. We just want you guys to do everything, basically. Is what I'm asking here.
Well, no, the Zombros thing. The question came up, which was, I know before Revelations came out, I saw comments. Somebody said something like, if they do anything less than a 30-minute outro to Revelations, I'm going to set fire to my PS4 or whatever. And I was like, dude, like, even if I wanted to, a 30-minute sequence is, I could almost shut down parts of development to try and make something that sounds.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it, but I couldn't currently find the world where I could justify doing that. And here's the other thing as well. I feel like when we put restrictions on how much story we tell, like a normal IGC, you can go to about 2.5 minutes, let's say, something like a Mob of the Dead. If you said to me that I had enough facility to do a larger piece, I don't think it would have been as catchy and as so impactful. Sometimes that kind of restriction forces creativity that you don't get if you say, we can make it 30 minutes long. I think with 30 minutes long, you might get more sloppier execution. You might get more looser, baggier stuff. Sure, you can get certain artistic things going that you can't do in a smaller piece, but I like the fact that it forces you to be very functional about stuff. It forces you to get to the point very, very quickly.
Right.
And I like that restriction.
Yeah, and it's totally. I mean, that's part of what's so special about Black Ops 3 is like each one of those cutscenes for everything from DE up to Grod Krovi, like, and then the Giant as well. But as far as intro and then all the outros are just like you get to see how each character deals with, I mean, essentially killing themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, everyone talks about Zetsubo and so many other aspects, but that's my favorite map in terms of the outro cutscene. Like, yeah. I think that was one of the most hard hitting, like, feel something cutscenes that you could ever like put into a game in 2 minutes or whatever, however long it was.
I mean, the one that really resonated for me was the Reisendrach. And the specific moment was the hand going on the shoulder.
Right.
And the thing I love about it is, like great design, if you get great design right, it looks really simple. And everyone will say, well, obviously. Yeah. Same way storytelling, if you get it right, it's normally this very simple thing, which looks like anyone could do that. It's great. You know, it's like it's the same as good camera and good controls on a controller. If you get good controls, people don't ever talk about them. The same way, if you get a good camera system in a game, no one ever mentions it. They'll mention it if it's bad. Yeah. But it's just it works. It's nice. And in the same way, if you get storytelling right, it's these things where you're doing very little, but the message gets straight across to the viewer, to the player. That's when it's working really well. And I felt that moment was very simple, and we could all emotionally get in sync with what was happening. And I felt like each person who viewed it was able to make a connection from their own kind of mind, and I really like that. So, you know, not all of us have been betrayed by the Emperor of Japan. Right?
Yeah, right.
I think all of us at some point have had to face the idea of loss or the idea of confronting a challenge which we never thought we'd have to face. And so I really like that in the Reisendrach and IGC.
Yeah, and I mean it's cool because I mean by far Zetsubo is my favorite. DE resonates with you, and I was talking to a fan, and we were standing in line together at like some store or something. And he was like, "Hey man, like watch your videos, really cool." And I was like, "Oh, do you like the story? Do you like doing the Easter eggs?" He's like, "Oh, I really like the story and like finishing up the cutscenes and everything like that." And he was talking about it, and he loved Grod Krovi. That was like his map. He was like, "Oh, I beat all the maps, but I only really played Grod Krovi, and it's like my favorite map, favorite cutscene, and everything like that." And I don't know. I mean, it's cool that there's not like a class favorite for one of the maps. It's across the board.
You know, and in previous interviews, you know, we've talked about this, which is I love the fact that you have such a diverse selection that people come to it and say that's the one that resonates with me, and you can tell just as much of what resonates with people with what they dislike as well. Like I find both points of view just as equally interesting.
Right.
Like I want to hear both points of view. I don't just hear the positive things. I like to hear when people have a reaction the opposite way because it tells me so much about people and how they see things. You know, the Grod Krovi one's interesting because you're talking about the idea of denial. You're talking about the idea of losing yourself in the bottle or finding yourself a crutch to kind of escape truths in your life. You know, not to get all deep and everything, but that was, you know, it resonates with some people, that idea of escapism, burying away from facts, right? And the idea of yourself telling you that, I think is very powerful. So, yeah, that's why I enjoyed the Grod Krovi one, which was, it talks about an aspect of the human experience, and I think each one does. The idea of confronting something you never thought you'd confront, the idea of betrayal, the idea of kind of burying, you know, a fact that you know by moving your attention away, and then, you know, Revelations also has another message in that as well.
Man. Alrighty. Jeez, we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to document all these bombshells we're dropping here. Oh my goodness. Alright. Wow. Okay, well, alright, so I have one question left, and I maybe putting you on the spot. I don't want feel free to decline or divert in some other way, and there are more than one options. But
I love when you're so polite and you give me permission to do these.
I'm just forewarning instead of just dropping it on you like this. But so I assume you saw it. We did an event called Easter eggs for charity last year. Yep. And we raised, I think the final total was a little bit over $113,000 for cancer research and Children's Hospital. Yep. And basically my question to you is that we're planning on doing everyone will see the trailer that's going up very soon for it. And my question to you is, if we break the donation and the charity goal of last year, will you come on and play a 1v1 with me in zombies?
Oh, what a question. What a question. Well, what I will commit to is, if you break that limit, I'll definitely come on and do something special with you. Yeah. So that could be playing, or we could do something else. But I'd love to be involved. It's such a great purpose and a great thing you guys are doing. So whatever I can do to help out, I'll absolutely do.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, everyone who listened to that we're releasing the trailer for E4C 2017. It's gonna be exciting. Been working on some really cool stuff behind the scenes on that, along with everything else. So that trailer will be coming out soon. So
that's wonderful.
This summer.
Yeah, we'll work something out. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I love you guys did that. I think it's such a great cause, and anything I can do to help, I'll be sure to do it.
Awesome. Good to hear. All right, Jason. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. It's always a ton of fun to chat and hang out with the man himself and have
you too, sir. And congratulations once again on 3 million. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I mean, I kind of responded on Twitter, but thank you guys for such an amazing. I mean, that wouldn't have happened. That's me like being a fan and enjoying Call of Duty. So thank you guys for.
I got a question for the Easter egg. Are you going to do all of them? You're going to do the whole set?
So we're gonna do a little reveal with it, but we're gonna do a little reveal with it. But I think people are gonna be happy with the selection of maps that we've got going on.
That's awesome. I just put you in that uncomfortable situation that people put me
I know. I was. Is this how you feel all the time? Goodness. All right, Jason. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.